What is Daniel Ricciardo's driving style like? Because it will explain why he was so quick at Red Bull but not so much at McLaren. Driving styles are subtle points that allow the driver to get the car through the corner more quickly. For example, Hamilton is incredible on the brakes. He's able to get the car stopped well without losing time on exit. Vettel usually takes a more V'd off line to rotate the car mid-corner, similar to Michael Schumacher. But all of these driving styles tie in closely with the car they are driving. For example, Alonso back in 2005 and 2006 was driving a Renault with a really strong rear end and using tyres that were rock hard. So he induced understeer all the way into the corner, which heated the tyres and gave him the grip to pivot the car mid-corner and fire it out on the exit. But he isn't using that style this year, for example, as it would chew up the tyres and he would be pretty slow. But having said that, Danny was at his peak at Red Bull between 2014 and 2018. So let's have a look at his style from back then. The Red Bull was incredible aerodynamically, with more raw downforce than the other teams on the whole. But the Renault engine wasn't great, so they were comparatively quick in the corners but slower on the straights. But what made Danny great in that car was that it fit his style really well. Now, we know him as last of the late breakers, but really that's only when overtaking. When Daniel was on a normal lap, he would actually brake a little bit earlier than most of the drivers. And that helped because you can keep the car more level, allowing Danny to turn in pretty aggressively and carry a high minimum speed through the corner. So a smoother braking phase kept the car flatter, which with the right car allows you to keep the aerodynamics working well throughout the corner. So Danny would set the car to be very stable on entry. He doesn't want the car moving around on the way into the corner. And this style also relies on having a car with great front end grip. Because Daniel isn't hard on the brakes through the corner, you have less weight on those front tyres and less load pushing them into the ground. So the car can lean into understeer, which means you run wide and sacrifice the exit. And you can see this style in the data. This is the fastest qualifying lap at Monaco in 2018 between Daniel, who got pole, and Hamilton. You can see that the Merc is much quicker on the straights, but the minimum speed through the tight corners was where Daniel gained the time. So this is why Daniel got 7 of his 8 wins at Red Bull and was pretty much always on the pace with his teammate throughout that time. Then Daniel went to Renault where it wasn't plain sailing. The car wasn't quick but did have a similar overall setup to the Red Bull. Daniel has said in interviews that the car didn't have the grip of the Red Bull, but he could drive it in a similar way. Then skipping forward to when Daniel joined McLaren. And whilst he has driven 2 very different cars, the 2021 car and the 2022 car, Daniel has had similar issues with both. Now, of course, Daniel has been working on changing his driving style, being more aggressive on the brakes and rotating the car more mid-corner. But that's a tricky thing to do. So let's see if he does indeed manage to change it this season. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.